Oh, hello there, folks. According to the Merriam-Webster, an omen is something that is believed to be a sign or warning of something that will happen in the future. A broad definition can cover everything from harbingers of bad news to signs of good luck to come. Good evening, folks. I am the Cinemastein, and tonight I am joined by my two friends, Greene from the Film Geek Collective, and my good friend, the Silver Screen Slasher.
Subscribers beware, you're in for a scare.
And today, I just wanted to quickly let you guys know that yes, the reason why he wasn't in the Exorcist review because he was trying to recover from a pretty bad cold. But anyway, it's good to have you back, Silver.
Thanks. Honestly, I just needed some time away just to get that cold off my back. So, what are we reviewing tonight?
The Omen from 1976, starring the great Gregory Peck and his son, or I should say, in the film, his son Damien, played by whoever. If anyone
Harvey
want to
Spencer
research that
Stevens.
up.
In the first film, Damien is played by Harvey Spencer Stevens, who is, to be honest, a child actor I'm not very familiar with.
Understandable. Anyway, the plot now for this film is that a child by the name of Damien, who is believed to be the son of Satan himself, is switched in childbirth and is and he was, I believe, worshipped by a bunch of people who worship the devil by the name of Satanists. And so as he grows up throughout the years, even very early on in the film, something, even like in the first few minutes, even when they establish something isn't very right about Damien. He's not like other children at all. In fact, that he's not even really a child at all. He doesn't act like one. And that's what makes him and that's what makes him so terrifying, is because in the first few opening minutes, probably one of the most brutal and most, well, at least I wouldn't say nothing about it brutal, but one of the most disturbing death scenes happens. Where I believe one of the characters who was just like looking after Damien not too long ago is up on the roof saying, "Up here, Damien, this is all for you." And then she jumps down and just commits suicide. Oh my god! This is one of the most disturbing things I've seen. I just wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on that scene?
That scene was a good way to start out that things may be suspicious. Like we know, by the way, spoilers in this review. By the way, we know that obviously that Damien. Well, today's audiences are going to know that Damien's the poster child for evil because 666. But then we know, as per usual in horror films, parents don't believe the things until things happen. Like I don't think that he really believes stuff's really happening until the priest is skewered right through later on. But yeah, it's an incredibly suspicious happening, and they think he's connected to the nanny hanging herself. Like that, just the way she performs that. I'm doing this for you, Damien. That is quite an effective scene, actually.
The way I would probably describe the scene is much like The Exorcist. There's a lot of religious symbolism throughout this whole movie, which is shown occasionally.
On a count of three, we all do, as I like to call one of probably Silver's most most known catchphrases. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Afraid. And where did that originally come from?
It came from another YouTuber by the name of Film Brain, who, by the way, I'm not trying to plagiarize your work, sir. I just find that a very effective joke.
So consider that a tribute. Please.
Never mind, that is not a catchphrase by Silver. Sorry, I apologize. Now let's get on with it. All right. Now a bit more to the plot as well, just quickly, just to add a bit more to it, and is that as well a lot of other weird and bizarre things start to happen around Damien. Like, for example, animals at least just act weird around him.
Dogs
Or
specifically.
even in one scene in the safari park, he stares at the giraffes by looks of it in such like pure hate, and and he starts to act very weird. Like even at some point, he kind of attacks his mother. Um, the monkey, and there's even also one scene where he sees a whole bunch of monkeys and they go batshit insane, and also where he looks at, of course, a bunch of giraffes and well, they run away. What I also find a bit interesting is some animals are afraid of him, some just act even completely insane around him, and some even just will actually will obey him by the looks of it or serve him.
Yeah, dogs being in one of those examples, given that they are meant to be the representations for hellhounds.
Oh.
Not only that, yes, just as well, even just anywhere he goes as well, like nearly anywhere he goes, people are just randomly getting killed. And I must say as well, just real quickly about the kills, I think this film as well, like most great horror films, has some pretty creative death scenes.
Yeah, the nanny's hanging is obviously one of the more famous deaths from this movie.
And one of the famous ones I would say is the one where the glass shatters a guy's head off.
Not
like,
shatters, decapitates.
Like literally,
well, still, you know what I mean. Whatever.
Like how kind of unexpected that is. Like when the photographer is getting decapitated, just the way the glass is just. You see 10 seconds earlier, sliding, and then you're like, oh shit! You have that time to dread. You don't get any other forewarning that time.
And also one last other pretty disturbing death scene I would have to say, or no, two more, or this one's not really a death scene, although I thought it was going to be, but I would consider this one more kind of violent. But the part where a giant spear thingy, whatever, hits the father, if you know, in like up the priest, kind of in the neck, whatever. And when I saw that, I was like, oh god.
I think that was the weather vane.
Yeah. And last but not least is, well, I guess you could say sort of Damien's, or I could quickly say even Robert Thorne's wife. I mean, like, just the way her death scene happens as well. Just, oh god.
Yeesh.
Like
Especially
I think
for a poor defenseless woman who's very badly injured. By the way, I'll cover that part possibly later. But oh man.
I think the first time that Damien injures the mother, I want to point out that there's something in there that I did not approve of, and that is when she falls, not only that, but the fish tank shatters, and I could tell those were real fish flopping around on the ground.
Not cool, bro.
Yeah, I didn't like that either, actually. Also, one more quick thing is, every time you see Damien, the way he looks at people or just acts at times is he just looks at everything, and especially when he's on his way to church, that his reaction to it, he's not afraid. I think he just hates it because demons obviously hate the good stuff, you know what I mean? And he just has a pure hatred for everything.
Yeah.
You could say it's the good, the bad, and the demon.
So yeah, that's pretty much the plot though of this film. So next time I actually want to go to the characters. First is Robert Thorne, played by of course, as I said before, the legendary Gregory Peck. Just to real quickly as well, at least from what I have to say about his performance, to me he's a guy who, of course, is a man who means well and has a good heart, and is trying to do. And even when people around him are getting killed or whatever, folks of the town or whatever, and even when bad things are happening to his wife or just his family in general, you can tell with the amount of drama that's happening in his life, unlike most men who would probably react in a very bad way around even anyone in general who didn't have nothing to do with it, still, who just lose their shit easily. What I like about him in this film is that he really does look like he tries his very best just to hide all of his emotions and pain inside him. He always still tries to have a cool attitude, if you know what I mean. And also and just even the way sometimes he communicates with his wife, especially in that hospital scene, I thought was very touching and heartbreaking. It's very well done, and I thought they did his character really relatable and very well done.
Emotional repression is not the best way to deal with things, but it put an interesting component to his character because he was trying to be so repressed, and then when his wife does die, crashing through the ambulance, he really lets go. He finally lets go. So he's been repressing himself a bit, apart from, he tries to channel it through anger if he can't help it. I think that's a weakness of the character in a good way of showing who the character is. I'm not saying it's a weakness of the film or anything. It's a weakness of the character.
But
Yeah.
still, you gotta admit, Gregory Peck is still pretty dang good in this. I mean, after all, I thought he was probably one of the best performances still.
Absolutely.
I was never saying that he was bad. Rather,
Oh,
he
no, I'm
is
not saying that either.
Yeah,
And also-
I will agree with its time on this one. And Mr. Peck does give a very heartfelt and emotional performance throughout the entire movie. And
This
honestly, it does bring me to tears when he's eventually offed.
I thought he might have been offed, but I wasn't sure. Like, I originally thought, yeah, there's a funeral, but then, when the police shot, like, I thought he'd be in hospital, but then he was like dead, and I didn't expect that. In the middle of the film, though, I must say, for classic movie buffs, all right, this is the second film where Gregory Peck goes on a Roman holiday. Yeah, he was in Roman Holiday. What can I say?
I didn't know that. Oh,
Let's get to my favorite character of the film, Damien.
Oh, no offense, but at least we kind of already now covered, really, at least from what I can tell, Damien's performance in this film.
True. I mean, but I kind of figured that director Richard Donner told Harvey Stevens to just act like a creepy kid, like he thought this was a sequel to Village of the Damned.
And I almost forgot that I should have done this in the intro, but yes, this film is directed by the legendary Richard Donner, who
sadly
not only
passed
is
away
famous for all these things,
ago.
he especially for the 1978
Yes, he directed
classic
Superman.
Superman the movie.
Doing Lethal Weapon.
Oh, and Lethal Weapon, okay. And also,
Sadly, though,
actually,
he passed
just a
away a
quick
couple
little
months
side
ago.
note as well. He also is actually quite, I wouldn't say very remembered, but he's still remembered for at least directing a few episodes of the original Twilight Zone series and Gilligan's Island, a few episodes of Gilligan's Island.
Oh.
Now, what about Robert Thorne's wife, Catherine?
Oh, yes, I will admit, I find her kind of memorable in this as well, even she unfortunately doesn't last for very long. And I kind of feel sorry for her as well because few things. Out of probably most of the characters in this film, besides Robert Thorne near the last few minutes though, but boy, she takes a lot of hits in this film, and that kind of what makes me feel sorry for her. And she also has to deal with a lot of stress and a bit of anger at times, and just nearly everywhere she goes with Damien, she just doesn't feel safe, and she just at some point even what's so relatable as well, she even she doesn't really say this, but when she says she needs to see a doctor, she feels like maybe she might be going insane or she just needs help in general.
I must say, one of my favorite shots in this movie is when they're on the bed and they're almost across the frame. Not quite, but they're almost across. And then it's this one shot. And then Gregory Peck's trying to calm her down in the bed. And then the camera
one of my favorite scenes as well, actually.
Slowly pushes into him in the one shot. And then you end up from a wide shot to just an intimate close-up of the two lying in bed. And I
actually know one of my favorite shots in the film, even it's near the first few minutes, but where the sun's going down and you see the silhouettes at least of Robert Thorne and his wife walking through. I know it's nothing too special, but just the way that they've captured that. Oh my God, that is a beautiful moment.
Oh yeah.
Now,
yeah, still, his wife as well kind of feels sorry as well because, of course, I should say maybe at least somewhere like maybe halfway through the film, she suffers a pretty bad injury. And here's the stupid thing though, as well, no offense, the one thing that I probably even hate about this character is that, so why does she put the fishbowl in an area of the house, right, or whatever, or on the part of the house, right, where it could easily fall off? I know fishies aren't, like us humans, obviously, but still, people still love fish, and well, If you don't want to lose your fish, don't put them in areas where they can easily, get knocked off and die, you idiots.
Let's put it this way. Sometimes people so stupid.
I mean, I get that Richard Donner wanted to build suspense there in terms of, oh, it's going to shatter and she's going to go, and then they wanted to make it, I guess, more dramatic with the shattering glass, but he really could have done that without the fish because, one, it makes no logical sense. Two, it hurts actual fish. They're meant to be in water. When they're in air, they flop around and they die, which is cruel to the fish. It doesn't, and it'd be cruel to kill fish anyway, obviously, but, exposing them to air like that is a slow and painful way to die.
3, wouldn't it make sense for her to fall through a glass coffee table?
True.
Later on as well, by the way, just real quickly, but here's the way Robert Thorne's wife goes out. That weird, by the way, there's also another character who's kind of evil alongside at least Damien in this one, and that is the nanny, I believe, that they hire. She's very weird. Just to give you an idea, I don't know exactly what she does, but here's my guess. She pushes off Robert Thorne's wife through the window that in the hospital room that she was staying in and falls to her death. Here's another thing that I just realized. I forgot to say this, but just the way she fell, right? She kind of landed, if in like the wrong way. You see her head sort of kind of poking out from one of the vans or whatever, like those ambulances.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the angle she fell in. She fell on the wrong side. It was supposed to be her feet sticking out, not her head, if you know what I mean.
Everything mistake.
Not only that, I'm just saying that I'm not mentioning feet because I'm Quentin Tarantino, by the way.
Fair.
Yeah, like I said, that's obviously got to be an editing mistake.
Anyway, now I believe, we pretty much covered everything else besides the last few minutes.
Oh.
There is one other thing though, the music.
Yes, when I heard the music for this, no offense, I won't say I loved it, but I thought it was actually kind of weird.
The music is the part of the film for me. I loved that music.
Yeah,
No
and
offense
composer Jerry
of course,
Goldsmith
if
had a
possibly
blast
any
with.
diehard fans of the Omen series, don't take this any wrong, but I just kind of thought it was a bit, not awful, but just a bit strange.
Yeah, but to be fair though, composer Jerry Goldsmith had a blast creating a lot of the original score for this film, including my personal favorite piece, Ave Satani, which is basically the main theme of the movie.
Oh yeah, I think that one there might be my favorite. Now I believe we should mention the last few minutes of this film, or at least I will. Just like what Silver did with his old reviews in the Mad Max month and everything, I'm going to cover the last few minutes. Pretty much the last few minutes of Robert Thorne going into his house one last time, killing the nanny character, kidnapping Damien, putting him in the car, driving off to a nearby church, then lays Damien on the ground and tries to restrain him as Damien tries to break free. And you can tell that what I also like about Robert Thorne is deep down inside he knows what he's about to do is very cruel and crazy, but he has no choice. And so he's about to stab Damien and kill him once and for all until a cop wastes no time and shoots him.
Bang.
Putting an end to Robert Thorne. And do you know what I love about this ending though? When as you see the coffin slowly going into the ground, right, is that when Damien looks at the screen with that evil devil sort of eyes, what I love about it is, for the first time ever, at least to me, in my opinion, in a horror film, which I thought was pretty unique about the ending, is that he won. The monster. It's normally at least the one of the survivors who normally win, but for the first time ever, the monster won.
I mean, the bad guys win in some other.
Think about it. He literally won.
The bad guys do win in some other horror films, but I will not say names because I don't want to give away those films.
I mean, honestly, though, it is pretty interesting to see Robert Thorne actually died. But given the way he was discovered, trying to kill a little kid, for the cops to try and shoot him.
Anyway, that was our review.
As he does actually die because it seems
that was our review of the 1976 classic, The Omen. My quick final thoughts on it. The characters, I believe, are honestly very great. Just a bit of editing mistakes, I would say, and also the fish bowl killing I don't like. But other than that, everything else I thought was great. Damien is cool, and very creepy. And I'm just saying that, yeah, I love the symbolism and the creepiness vibe that it has to it, and even some of the kills. But other than that, I would give this film a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. So, with the cinematography of this film, if you noticed, of course, you probably would have noticed, with the way that in the cinematography, not only does it...
I almost forgot, but I even think the cinematography is great.
But yeah.
Oh, God.
Apologies, viewers. I accidentally got kicked out of the call. I don't know why. It must have been a glitch. So, as I was saying, I think that the cinematography was very good, and I love the way they used the width of the frame. Like 2 people standing over at the left, and the nun standing at the right with the baby. That was such an example of a brilliant composition that used all the frame. And there are a number of compositions like that. Now, overall, I found this film more spooky than scary, with the exception of the man with the mutilated eye and arm, and perhaps there were a couple other things in the film that were a bit scary, but otherwise, I think that it was more spooky than scary. It was entertaining, the film, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, but in my heart of hearts, I actually think that I would give it. This may be blasphemy to some, but I give Omen Holiday. I'm sorry, the Omen, 6 out of 10.
Blasphemy!
Oh.
Jokes
All right.
aside, though,
Now,
this
Silver,
movie.
what is your last final thoughts?
All jokes aside, though, this is one of the more intimidating horror movies I've seen. Like I said, it does have a lot more, and it has religious imagery, which can be compared to The Omen, but this is more along the lines of the devil rather than a demon actually possessing the living. And to be honest, though, I do find Damien to be one of the most terrifying and kid actors I've ever seen. All in all, though, this movie isn't bad, but it's not perfect either. I give The Omen a 7 out of 10.
I know there's a lot. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Until then, we'll see you very soon. Sweet dreams, kiddies.
If you dare.